Hi, welcome to the Mother Daze. I am Teresa Palmer.
And I'm Sarah Wright Olsen. Hi, daisies.
Hey, guys. Oh, my goodness. We are doing another episode where we were anticipating having a guest on, but then unfortunately the guest wasn't available last minute. So we're like, well, we're just going to wing it. We're just going to jump on, talk about whatever comes into our brain, which for me might not be a lot. It's early in the morning. I've been working all weekend. It's been a very, very busy time. But I'm excited to see you, Sarah. I miss you.
I know. I was actually just thinking that for me, this is like such a treat because I haven't seen you in a couple of weeks and you've been shooting this film and I miss you so much. And it's like, this is my
MIA.
This is my date. This is like our date. We get to hang out.
Self-care. This is our self-care. Oh my God. I don't know if I've been busier in my life than I am right this very week because I'm shooting the movie Edition and then I'm also promoting The Clearing, which comes out, which by the time this episode is out, maybe some of you guys have been watching the show, but Hulu's only dropping one episode per week. So I don't know what episode you'd be up to. But so it's just been wild. I've been like on set shooting like 11-hour days and then into like, all right, driving on to be like a live appearance on the project and then straight from there to a screening and do a Q&A and then waking up at 4:30 a.m. to get to work by 5. It's just been nuts. My whole face is so puffy. If anyone's watching this, I'm in a bathrobe.
I think you look amazing. I'm like,
I love that you said that. That's strange
you look.
to me.
I think you look so like youthful and beautiful.
It's the puffiness, I think.
Yeah, it's like the puffiness is like just the right amount of collagen.
Yeah, totally. I'm like, oh, I look a little plumper in the face today.
Can I have some of that? Whatever salt you're eating, I'd like to just inject that right here, above my right eye. Do you remember
my little my droopy hoods are coming down?
I know. Do you remember in 2020 when I swore that my eyelid was like retracting into my head?
Oh my God. And you announced it to all your friends like, hey, I had this thing with
And I went to the eye doctor. I went to a specialist. I was like, guys, something is happening to my eyelid. And I was like, doesn't it look more open? Doesn't it? And I would like send pictures of my eyeball. I was like, it's bizarre. And finally, after doing all this discovery, this one eye doctor was like, just try using these like dry eye drops and see if it helps. And apparently, like when you're under a lot of stress, and I was pregnant and I was like, obviously it was 2020. Yeah, I was like stressed. There was a little bit of stress. That apparently your eye can get like dry eye and then it kind of like makes your eyelid like pull back in. So anyway, I have pictures where, yes, I have photos where one of my eyes just looks really surprised and the other one is like my normal squinty eye.
Normal squinty eye? Is that what you call it? It's just the squinty eye.
Just like the normal, like it looks a little sleepy.
Oh my God.
One side. Anyway, so
I had this scene this week in the movie where I had to look in the mirror and she had to inspect her face. And it's so close up. And she was like, just sort of pull your eye around and stuff. And I was like, okay, like you're going to get this like in an ECU, like extreme close up.
Yeah.
And so I started pulling the lids on top of my eyes and sort of like letting them spring back, but they didn't spring back. They just sort of hung out there, like droopy. And I was like, oh my God, they're not going back. And she was like,
that's not good.
Maybe don't do the eyelid thing. Maybe do. And I was like, oh my God, it's because it just looks so hideous. I was like, I will never do that again. Oh my God.
You definitely, that's absolutely not possible with you.
How was your Mother's Day? I know this is a few weeks after Mother's Day now, but how was it? How did you celebrate yourself? Did the kids shower you with love, with gifts? What did Eric do? Tell me all the things.
I love that you asked this question because it was such a nice moment this Mother's Day because, the Saturday before Mother's Day, I went and played in this pickleball tournament with the Deep Dive podcast and Bitch Sesh podcast. So my friends do those podcasts and they had like a pickleball tournament in honor of Mother's Day. And it's really funny and fun. It's the second time I've done it. And just, I'm going to throw this out there, everybody. I made it to the semifinals in the pickleball tournament. Yes. And only to get beaten by the guy who won the whole thing. So I'm just going to say that my partner.
To the grand final.
I went to the semifinals. And so nice. I was very excited. I had so much fun. And I made sure and told everybody I saw for the next 2 days that I made it to the semifinals.
I can really imagine you being good at that.
It was so much fun. I had such a great time. Anyway, so then on Sunday, it was like all about hanging out with the kids. And Eric and the kids got up that morning and everybody, like Esme made me a card and everybody piled into bed and they were like, what do you want to do for Mother's Day? And I just started thinking about it. And I was like, I actually just want to do what we do every single Sunday because it's my favorite thing in the whole world. And I'm not like blowing smoke, but it's like my favorite thing. We like go out to Malibu, we get smoothies, we get coffee, we go to the beach. I wanted to eat at Chipotle because I love these like tacos right now from there. And I'm just like on a Chipotle kick. And so I was like, let's eat at Chipotle.
Sarah loves her food. She's a real
I love food. It was all about food
girl.
For me. Yeah, it was all about food.
So do I.
And then we went to the beach and hung out on the beach and did like a little walk. It's like really cold. And so we just did like a beach walk and then came back. And the very end of it all was that I wanted to end up at this restaurant called Endless Color in Topanga Canyon because it's really beautiful in the canyon. And it's pizza. And we order the pizza on the way, get it and take it out to our pickup truck. And then we all sit in the pickup under the trees and like eat our pizza. And
yes, I've seen photos of you doing this.
Yes, it's my favorite thing. And so there was a live band playing. So we got to listen to music and eat pizza. And it was just perfect. It was the most perfect day. And I just felt so much gratitude because it was just exactly what I wanted to do. I just wanted to be with my little buddies.
Oh my gosh, that sounds
what about
so
you?
dreamy.
What'd you do?
Well, I wasn't expecting really a Mother's Day because my husband is currently away, but by the time this comes out, he has come back. Thank you to the writer's strike, actually, for that because he was on a show and his show got paused.
Right.
So we weren't going to see each other. We just weren't going to see each other this whole time that I'm in Melbourne shooting this movie.
Yeah.
But because his show's been paused, he's on a show with Josh Jackson and Ava DuVernay. And, Ava DuVernay is not in it, but she's producing it. They let them finish the last episode, which means they have a whole season in the can, which is great. But now he will be on a plane coming to Australia, which is fantastic because we really miss him. But I just assumed, all right, I'm not going to really have much of a Mother's Day because Mark always makes such a fuss on Mother's Day. It's the cutest thing ever. He's just like, he's such a sucker for surprises and he plans everything out. And it was so sweet. But so this Mother's Day, I got woken up by the kids. Two of them sleep in the bed with me anyway. But the boys came in and everyone was like, quick, go get him, go get them. And then they ran off and they all had these homemade cards, which is so divine. And then my friend Kate, who I do love well with, she had my boys the night before for a sleepover because I was in Melbourne shooting the cover of Marie Claire. And so I was like, hey, can you have the boys? Because I'm going to Sydney. I'm taking the girls for the day to shoot that. And do you mind having them? And so she actually took them out the day before Mother's Day and she bought me a present from them. which is really sweet. So she like gave it to them in this box, in a Lovewell box. And I was like, oh, I got Lovewell from the kids. But I opened it up and it was this amazing outfit, like slouchy, creamy, soft pajama outfit with this big scarf and these warm, cozy socks. And anyway, it was so thoughtful of Kate. But of course I was like, oh my God, kids, thank you so much. And all I wanted to do, this was so random, but we do this thing called bath shower, bath shower. Anyway, it's this thing that we do where I've been doing it for years with the kids. It started obviously just when it was me and Bodhi, and then, you know, with all the kids it's grown. But I haven't done it so much recently because we just haven't. And also Bodhi's getting older now and he sort of showers on his own. And so I was like, oh my God, let's do bath shower this morning, which is basically where we run a bath and we have the shower going. Nice. Not great for water usage. However, this is such a once off. We don't do this very often. But we decided to. So the kids will be in the bath, I'll be in the shower. Everyone will swap and change, and we all like shampoo each other's hair, and then we put in the shower, we put the flannel in the drain so that it it gets
fills
a little
up
bit.
The shower.
It fills up the shower. And then we put bubbles on the floor. So it's like a bubbly shower floor with all the toys. And then we have the sprayer and we're all spraying each other and we're doing each other's hair and we're just laughing. And we like to spend like an hour in there doing it. And this is just this thing I've done all over the world in different hotels. And Mark's always like, oh, bath shower, bath shower. And it's just so fun because we love water, but like warm water. And it's just a good way to make sure the kids are clean. They actually will shampoo and condition their hair. And we're also like having a giggle and having fun. And it's just such a
cute,
wicked time. So anyway, I was like, let's do bath shower. So we started doing bath shower and I was like, oh my God, washing my hair. And it was so fun. And the kids were all laughing and spraying each other. And they had these bath toys that were filling up and they were deep immersed in some game, the four of them together. And it was so cute. And I was just watching them being like, I've never been happier. This is the most amazing thing. Like, it's just these simple things. But then it's like, I heard this noise and all the water shut off. No. And of course, like kids are like halfway through shampooed hair. One of Prairie's got conditioner in the back. I haven't even started doing my hair yet. Bubbles everywhere. Water's off and the whole water to the house is completely shut off. So I'm there being like, I can't even get the shampoo out of my kid's hair. I'm trying to towel it out. It's like everyone's freezing cold because it's just like stopped immediately. I'm trying to grab the towels, figure it out. Anyway, the water was off the whole day, Mother's Day, the entire day until 10 p.m. that night. So we all had this hair which had like soap, and it was so crazy because it had happened a week earlier on a Sunday, which is my day that I wash all the kids' hair. So
it's the one day a week that you guys bathe.
It's the one day a week that I'm home and I make sure that the kids' hair is shampooed and conditioned because I don't want to put that on my mum throughout the week to like shampoo and condition their hair and like comb out all the knots.
Yes.
So I was like, okay, on a Sunday, if I know that I do it, everyone's hair is going to be combed out. It's going to be perfect. The last Sunday it happened as well, but they told me it was some problem with the water on the street. But then the fact that it happened again halfway through the shower, I was like, this isn't some problem on the street.
No.
So I had to ring the company who like represent the house and I was like, hey, this happened, like we're getting ready to go out for the day for Mother's Day. And she was like, oh, I'm so sorry. Actually, they have this thing in the house because it's so high tech and it's such an eco-friendly house.
Oh my God. Where it shuts off the water.
It shuts off the water. They think there's a leak. So if you have a shower for longer than 25 minutes, all the water shuts off throughout the house for hours and hours and hours until the owners who are currently in Israel get the message and turn the water back on to say, okay, there's no leak in the house. So that's why it happened 2 Sundays in a row, and why.
So basically you got in trouble for not being eco-friendly.
Exactly. And I was like, oh my God, it'll never happen again. I'm so sorry. I was trying to explain. I was like, I was doing bath shower. And I had all the kids and it was Mother's Day and I was just doing, and she was like, no, it's not a big deal. And so I just asked them, I was like, hey, if I'm going to do this on a Sunday, you know that actually I am being eco because the kids aren't having showers every single night and my kids like to have long showers. I was like, I just know on a Sunday at least they're getting clean. I'm not putting it on my nanny right now or my mum. And I just know on a Sunday, do you mind increasing the shower time just so that I can make sure on Sundays we're good? And they're like, yeah, we'll increase it for you. Anyway, like, such a high-tech house.
You know how many children I have.
I know. And I was like, I'm so sorry. It takes me so long to comb through all their hair. Two of my kids have really fine hair. So when they sleep on it, it gets real. And your kids do too. That really the matted knots in the back.
Yes.
And then they start ripping their fingers through their hair and pulling out chunks when they get to the knots. And I'm like, just chill.
Please don't do that.
I will comb this out. Yeah. So we did that. And then we ended up going to this really cool adventure playground in St. Kilda, which is really fun. It was like made in the 60s. So it's really old images, like painted. It's kind of like these old zombies painted on this wooden underground cool playground, which is really sort of creepy for the younger kids, but really cool for the boys. So it's fully enclosed, a massive adventure playground. So we just went there. We had breakfast with my mum, and then me, mum, and the kids went there, and we made some little friends there, which was cute. And we're actually having a play date with those friends on Sunday. So that was a nice day. And then came back and I cleaned out the Snail's aquarium, which is another thing I felt like doing. So yeah.
On Mother's Day.
On Mother's Day. I was like, let's bathe the snails, and
everybody's getting cleaned. Everyone's
getting cleaned.
Yeah.
And Gary and Barry have snail mites right now, Sarah.
Ew,
so
gross.
They have snail mites, the poor little darlings. So I had to bathe them. You know, I think I told you, Gary and Barry had babies. So we have about 142 snails now, all in different tiny sizes. Like, actually, no joke. I'm going to film and show you. And I keep finding more snail eggs. And I'm like, oh my God, there's more and more and more.
It's multiplying.
It's multiplying, and the new snail eggs just hatched. So we've got another like 50 tiny little specks.
Oh my
God.
Every
time I clean out the aquarium, I'm pulling out these teeny little day-old snails, and then I bathe every single one of them, and then I cut up a piece of cucumber, and each snail gets a piece of cucumber while in the bathing process. So I'm like, I bathe it, then put it on its little cucumber, and then I bathe the next little baby one, put it on its cucumber. It's wild. And you know that, of course, it's for me. Mark's like, this is for you. It started off being for the children. And then you got so into being a snail owner, and I'm so obsessed with how cute they are that I'm like, I can't throw them out yet. I can't give them back to the wild yet.
You're the mother of snails. You have you're like the mother of dragons. You're the mother of snails.
I literally have like 140 snails that I'm keeping alive right now.
That's absolutely insane. And I don't want to see a snail mite. I don't know. I don't want to know what it is. It sounds disgusting.
Well, you have to actually buy predator mites to put in the aquarium that will kill off the snail mites. Because it's basically like dogs having fleas. So I've actually got to order them. They get sent to me in the post, live mites that I have to open immediately, put in the aquarium, set free in the aquarium, and they'll eat off all the snail mites. And then those mites eventually sort of die off because there's nothing for them to eat because they're not going to eat the snails. I know, it's bizarre, but I'm like so deep in my thread on Reddit. I belong to a snails thread on Reddit.
Oh my God.
So I just ask questions. We share photos of the girls and the guys, and it's really fun. It's like I go deep in that. That is often what I do when I get home from work. I'll go on my snails Reddit thread and I'll just like catch up with the community, you know?
That sounds insane. It sounds like one little box of salmonella and it is...
Oh my God. And the kids the boys are a little bit over it now, but the girls are really into obsessed. So obsessed. Every day they're like, please let me hold one, please. And Prairie's really gentle with them actually. I don't let them hold the babies, but they can hold the big ones. And Prairie's so gentle and they get so excited. It's bizarre. Anyway,
that's amazing.
There's the Snail update from me from 1 to 151. Yeah.
Well, you'll have to forgive me for yawning at all. If anybody's watching this, I have yawned 14 times and it has nothing to do with the snail mites. It is literally because Winter woke up in the middle of the night last night and she kept telling me she like couldn't go to sleep and I don't know if she's teething. I don't know if she has a fever. I mean, this is like, it's so crazy when you get to having 3 kids and you're just kind of like, just go back to sleep, you know? Like I really feel like I lose my patience a little bit more now because like it's between Esme's coughing and when, you know, I'm not really losing my patience with Winter, but she's fully, she's like, oh, in the middle of the night, 1:30 in the morning, she's like, I really like your hair. I like my hair, but I like your hair more. And I'm like, oh my God, can you go to sleep, please?
Go to sleep.
Please. She's like, I love having dogs, but I'd rather have a cat. Can we get a cat? And I was like, no. And then she'll be like, I feel like I have to poop. And I'm like, do you have to poop? And she's like, no, I have to pee. And I'm like, oh my gosh, okay, let's go pee. And she's like, no, I'm not peeing. And I was like, wait. What?
My gosh. In the middle of the night. That's hilarious.
Middle of the night. So it's like crazy. So I feel so
just her little
wrecked.
mind like ticking over? She's got an active mind at nighttime.
I don't know. She couldn't go to sleep last night for like hours and she felt hot to me. So I was like, maybe she has a fever. Because when my kids have fevers, which is very different than some of my friends, but when my kids have fevers, they cannot sleep. And so I have to end up giving them some sort of fever reducer. And then, so I gave her like a fever reducer last night. And then she went to sleep within like, you know, a half hour, 45 minutes, and then slept the rest of the night. But for like a couple of hours, she was just like, ba, 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 ba. And then I was just like, oh my gosh, I can't do this. I'm so tired.
Sleep has not been great over here either. But
yeah, you think you're working like 40 hours a day.
Oh my gosh. Well, for me, it's not so bad for me. I mean, Prairie still wakes up a couple of times in the night. Oh, and you know, Poet was still nursing right up until her 4th birthday. But only it was one nursing just to go to sleep. So that's what we were doing for the longest time. And then, you know, we'd been talking about her stopping and she knew the time was coming and, you know, we did a big sort of celebration to represent, you know, her transition into like being such a big girl and all those sorts of things. And that went really well. But so we've got like a new routine at nighttime for her, which is
well, how does that work?
Well, we've just transitioned into warm milk. So she has warm milk with cinnamon on top. Which she loves and only she gets that. That's her special thing. Because Prairie still gets to have mama milk. So that's her special thing that she gets. And then we read a couple of books and then we have what we call snuggly cuddlies and like snuggle down to bed while I'm breastfeeding Prairie. Now, if Mark was here, I would keep it really separate. So I was having one-on-one poet time for nighttime, but because Mark's not here, I have to put Prairie to sleep at the same time.
Yeah.
But Forrest is a really amazing independent sleeper. So sometimes he'll be like, can you lie with me to sleep? And I'll do it. But other times he'll just happily, when we're back in America, he's got his own room. So he'll happily go in his bed, have a cuddle, have a good night, you know, have his little dinosaur lamp on and he'll go to sleep. I think of all of them, he's my best sleeper.
Wow.
And he was as a baby as well. But Bodhi is having insomnia. And he was calling it amnesia. But like last week, he was like, I just have amnesia. I have amnesia at night. Yes. And I was like, oh, darling, I think you mean insomnia. And I've been trying to do a meditation with him at nighttime. The sleep has been really interesting over here. I feel like I'm constantly playing like musical chairs. Like, all right, I'm getting the girls down to bed and then I'll go and lie with Bodhi to make sure that he's feeling okay. But then Forrest is like, well, if someone's lying with Bodhi, then I also want someone to lie with me. And so then my mum's lying with Forrest and then we're swapping different positions. And then in the morning, I always wake up to be like, okay, who slept where? Like, where am I going to find them? And this morning I went down, I didn't find Forrest in his bed immediately because I listened to so much true crime. I'm like, kidnap. And then, ran down to the bedroom and I was like, okay, Forrest and Bodhi are like snuggled in a single bed. My mum's on a floor bed. It's just, I know. And so I think also because we're in a home that's unfamiliar, but the sleep thing over here hasn't been great. And then, of course, Bodhi's it's been taking him so long to get to sleep. So he's not going to sleep until like 9:20 and he's got school in the morning. So he's been waking up at 8, which just makes the mornings really rushed, even though I'm not there because I'm at work. Yes. I'm hearing from our babysitter, Kristen, that the mornings are so rushed, like getting them ready for school because he's waking up so late. So I'm not really sure how to navigate that right now. It's just trial and error.
Well, does he enjoy reading a book? Could he read a book before bed okay.
He does enjoy reading a book. I don't know if it's been helping or not. But yeah, I think maybe I can sort of enforce that more. A lot of the time he does this thing where he's like, well, my bedtime's not to 8:30. So he doesn't get into bed to 8:15. And then they're so hyper at the end of the day. And I also haven't seen them because I've been working and I get home and it's like I'm trying to download with them and they're running around and everyone's so excited when I get home that there's a real buzzy energy before bed. But I'm often getting home right at that critical hour, like right at 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
So I'm wanting to spend time with the kids and I want to hear about the day and there's buzz. There's also this energy, but that's not like lending itself to them going to bed early enough.
I almost wonder if you could try, we had this for a little bit with Wyatt too. But there's a couple things that I think if you read about sleep or getting yourself ready for sleep, one of the things is if he showers before bed, not everybody likes to shower before bed, but showering before bed, like getting that warm water on you, like putting on PJs, being fresh and clean, getting into bed, reading a little bit, having that downtime where you're sort of like lowering your heart rate, and then, sort of laying down to sleep. So if your time with them was more of like we're going to read together and we're going to talk about our day, but we're going to talk about it in
bed,
that the energy, the chill energy of the day, it's like, and maybe that's not what you guys want right now. Like maybe you guys need to be up because you're working so much and maybe you want to have like an hour where you guys are running around. But even if it's
not really,
9 o'clock,
I'd love to come home from work and be like, it's chill hour.
But maybe
it's the chill hour at the Palmer house.
Yeah. Like maybe whoever's, co-caring at the moment for the kids,
Kristen.
They get everybody to like shower, brush their teeth, start reading as you're like on your way home. So then by the time you get home, like idea. You're coming into a more chill energy.
Because if she finishes work at 8 every night. So I think that's a really great idea because often they are in their pajamas, but then I get home and it's like, it's like so, and the testosterone surges.
Yeah.
The little boys together, like having the two of them together is so funny to watch.
Oh, I'm sure.
And there is a difference. Like maybe it's an age thing, I don't know. But my husband was explaining it to me. He was like, no, it's like the testosterone, they are jumping off the walls. They are running. Last week I was like, all right, guys, I need you to run. This house has this really long hallway. It's so long. and it's all carpeted, so it's actually pretty safe. I was like, all right, we're doing relay races. Woo! This is at like 8:10. And I was like, all right, you start down one end, go. And then Forrest would sprint as hard as he could go. And then like tag Bodhi, and then he would sprint. And then of course the girls wanted to join in, even though they really didn't need to. Their energy level's quite chill at nighttime. But I had the boys run back and forth like 20 times just to get some of that extra little dude energy out.
Oh my gosh.
And so I did suggest to Kristen, I was like, oh, maybe like right before I come home, like, oh, it's trampoline time, or it's just to help them wind down so it's not so wild at nighttime. And that's the hard thing, because I'm not there for the dinner hour where I'm starting to sort of put all the pieces in place so that we can have a calm evening. And also I've just reordered Dream from Lovewell, because that seems to help. If Bodhi has that before bed, it really calms him down.
Yeah.
And I've just run out of some. So I was like, okay, I'm going to try what you suggested. Hello, darling poet. She's all ready for her ballet class after this. Ooh,
you're
look
so
beautiful,
cute.
my girl.
I love it. Yeah, see if that helps at all. You know, like I always say that like I'd have like the loosest of routine, but there is a routine there. It's like 5 o'clock dinner, clean up dinner, feed dogs, vacuum. Like we all kind of do our little community projects, and then everybody's like showering, brushing teeth, putting on PJs, so that we're all like getting into bed around 7:30 and reading books and like getting calm. Lately, we've been using the meditation app that you were telling me about, like the
I love that.
the Holistic Center or whatever that is.
New Holistic Horizons Center.
Yeah. So I've been doing that for Esme and Winter. And then Wright goes and like reads in his room and then goes to sleep. And so that's been really nice. But yeah, try it. See if it helps at all. I mean, it's hard.
Yeah.
Like I think they go through big transitions, and sometimes for me, if my kids get rowdy right before bed, it's like, first of all, it's kind of triggering for me. It's the opposite of where my energy is. And then I'm like, okay, I need to not freak out, because I get so tired of saying like, okay, get in bed. Okay, brush your teeth. Can you do this, do that? You know, it's like, I hate saying it 30 times. It like drives me nuts, you know? I want to be
on the same.
I want to be the cool mom that's letting them race down the hallway 14 times before they go to bed. But I can't, because I'm like, I need you guys to like get calm and get in bed. And like Esme's, you know, crawling with her body across the floor, the opposite direction, and like making crazy faces at me like I'm so mean and evil because I asked her to brush her teeth for the 14th time. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to take away your ice cream or whatever it is, or take away this movie. What
do you take away? Is it the ice cream, the movie?
Yeah, it's just like ice. Well, it depends, right? So it's like, depends on how big of a thing it is. But I'll be like, okay, like you haven't lost any movies for this weekend. It's going to be so fun. Let's not do it now. Like, let's not lose a movie now.
Totally.
Well, then sometimes she's like, you know, and then just sees how far she can push it. And I'm oh my gosh. And then she wants me to take it away. So then I do. And then she gets upset, and then she starts crying, and then she's all mad about it. And I'm just like, listen, honestly, I feel like you were trying to see if I was going to do it, and I did it. And there's still time before Saturday for you to get it back, but this is not the time.
We always do the win back.
Discuss it or get it back. I mean, we don't.
We offer the win back. We do.
Oh, you offer it. Yeah. I mean, we're giving them the opportunity. You always have an opportunity, right? But anyway, so I don't know. See if that helps, because that's been helping lately. But I feel like you just have to try new stuff all the time.
I know, isn't it? It is always trial and error. Like what's working and what's in flow for a particular time is great. And like, woohoo, you're in this amazing flow and everything's kind of going really well. And then something sort of shifts. And then you're like, all right, I've got to just throw something else at the wall to see like how to help, you know, the sleeping situation in our house. That's the main thing we're sort of combating. And I would also say, with me working without having a primary parent around, Yeah, they've got my mum, who's just like the sweetest, softest, most gentle little thing in all the land. They can sort of get away with things, literally in all the land. I mean, there's no one cuter and softer and more gentle than her.
Gosh.
And they know that and they love that. So the great thing about having my mum here is, so they've got that comfort, that love, that anchor, the softness that they need, right? When I'm working such crazy hours throughout the week. So they have that with her, but there's no boundaries. There's no sort of, in terms of like the structure, they get a lot of that from Kristen, who's this wonderful babysitter that we found. And, you know, as I've talked about before, we don't have a nanny, so we don't have someone consistent, but we have used this girl as a babysitter before. She comes every morning at 7:30 to help get the kids ready, and then she drives them to school. So she sort of brings the structure and the boundaries and the rules. But she's also so sweet that, like, I think the boys are just pushing boundaries slightly. And that what I'm hearing is that the dudes have been getting into little bickerings with each other. And if I'm there, I know how to navigate that in a way. The sibling fights.
Enlighten me, because Esme and Wyatt do too. So I need to know how do you deal with that? Yeah.
Okay. So we just do it by like getting down on their level. It's a thing that we talk about in our book, Sarah, about getting down on their level and really looking in their eyes and communicating with them. So
yes,
you know, the same way you have that dynamic with your partner where you know who triggers who and how it escalates. In our family, Bodhi triggers Forrest, who's quicker to anger than any of the other kids. He's quicker to go like 0 to 100 and like turn into the little feral, right? Where he gets super angry because his buttons have been pushed. Yeah. And so we know that that's the dynamic. If there's ever something that happens, that's the way it goes down in our family. So it's about like equipping Forrest with the tools to like free himself from the feelings that come if Bodhi pushes his buttons, and then working with Bodhi on like what's beneath pushing the buttons. Like, where's that coming from? Why are you wanting to push his buttons and get the reaction? Is it just funny that he gets so angry? Do you like getting him into trouble? Do you, so like for instance, last night there was this situation where Forrest is like the sweetest little thing, and he was saying to Poet was like, when am I going to lose my teeth? And like, I want to lose my teeth. I want the tooth fairy to come. And Forrest told this story about his teeth, about when he lost his teeth, and he's like, the first one I lost it like this, and the second one I lost it when this basketball hit me in the tooth, and then the basketball, then it flew out. You know, he was telling this sort of more imaginative version of the story.
Yes.
And Poet was like, wow, really? And then Bodhi heard and came in and was like, Forrest, that's not true. You're lying. You're lying. That's not true. That didn't happen. And then Forrest was like, it did. And then Bodhi's like, no, it didn't. It did. And then Forrest went, no, it did. Like, he got like really triggered by it. And Bodhi then,
because he was telling the truth.
Yeah, because yes, he was embellishing the story. And, you know, it did happen the night we were playing basketball, and he did get hit in the face, and like later that night it fell out, but it wasn't the basketball's fault, but whatever. Right. So he was trying to explain it, but he was doing it in a way where his face was red and he was so angry. And then Bodhi did this really cool thing, and I told him afterwards, I mean, it still ended up in Bodhi and I having sort of a disagreement about this, but this was the cool thing. Bodhi caught himself, and our biggest rule, I've talked about it before, is you are not a spirit popper. You do not pop a spirit in this family. So no spirit popping. And like the intention was Forrest was trying to help poet get excited about this idea of losing her tooth. So he was actually being so beautiful.
Yeah.
And he was telling a story that maybe was a little bit fabricated, but it's not on Bodhi to call him out and embarrass him in front of anyone. So Bodhi actually caught himself and he was like, oh, I didn't hear any of this, but I was down the hall. Bodhi was like, oh, sorry, Forrest. Like, I was spirit popping. Like, yeah, totally. I'm sure maybe that kind of did happen, but it was too late. Forrest was already like off and like, rah! And then they were sort of pummeling each other. And then Forrest got a blood lip because he bit his own lip when he sort of fell to the floor. He bit his own lip. But then Forrest came running to me, screaming with this like little blood lip, being like, Bodhi made my lip bleed, which I know Bodhi didn't intentionally make his lip bleed. Anyway, so it turned into this crazy thing right before bed. And I was like, guys, I just gotten home. I was like, guys, we're all going to sit down and we're going to talk about this. And so I really quietly started talking to Forrest about it and he listened. He sort of dropped and he sort of had a laugh about how he pretended Bodhi was the one that made his lip bleed. He kind of like giggled about it and I was like, okay, so we've gotten in a better spot with that. And then Bodhi, I started saying like, hey, I noticed that you caught yourself out in the moment. Yeah. And I want you to like get beneath the reason why you felt like saying it to him in the first place. And Bodhi started sort of coming back at me, like talking back at me a little bit and sort of spun around and walked out, like took himself out of the conversation. And I was like, I wanted to hold him in that place of us both feeling uncomfortable to have the conversation and to be like, hey, we can have uncomfortable conversations. There's still so much love there and we can get through it. But I think what's been happening with Bodhi is because we've been really trying to pull him up on this tendency with Forrest. Yeah. He's working really hard at it. And I know that he caught himself in the moment about being a spirit popper, that I've now processed it this morning and been like, oh, Bodhi didn't fully feel seen because he did come back and catch himself in the moment. And I was still harping on about his initial tendency to still poke the bear. I kept being like, why did you need to poke the bear? For us, it's always the communication. And this morning, Bodhi came in and we had a big hug. And it's hard when you're a working parent and you're not there all the time to be able to like hold the space for these things to happen and then to like unpack the ways in which the patterns are coming up. So we've got these anchors in our family. Like, what are our key foundations in our family? One of the foundations is we don't be spirit poppers. We don't pop anyone's spirit. And the other key foundation is we're a yes and person. So this morning he was like, oh, I see how I could have been a yes and person in that moment. And what we mean by that is if someone throws something out there, like Forrest throwing out a story that's like maybe not entirely true, it's like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. And this is how I lost my tooth. I lost mine like this. And poet, like, it's the best feeling. And then the tooth fairy comes. And so it's like you're building these blocks, you're building each other up one after the next. Like, yes, and something else positive. Yes, and another thing positive. Yes, and. So we call it yes-anding in our family so that, you know, and it's just like the same, it goes hand in hand with not being a spirit popper. It's how you don't be a spirit popper is by being a yes and person. And Bodhi so beautifully articulated yes and when I explained it to him, he articulated it back to me in a way that made me feel like he really understood the concept of it. And he now brings it up as a part of his own language when he's talking. And he is so he's so emotionally advanced, I feel, for his age, that I probably hold him to a higher expectation because of that. And sometimes I have to remind myself, and I think we all have to do this as parents, like they are just like they're children still learning, that I sometimes feel like I have to lessen my expectation. And that was a lesson I feel like I learned this morning when I was like, wow, he really did make an effort, and I still pulled him up on it. Anyway, it's a really long-winded way of describing some of the like inner workings of the sibling conflict that I've found in our household and the ways in which we deal with it. But yeah, it's been something that we've been talking about a lot recently.
I so appreciate you saying all of that too, just because I think we all kind of like our kids get into these loops. I think these like cycles where it just kind of keeps repeating itself. You know, I noticed that some of the things that you were saying, I was like, wow, that is so the dynamic with Wyatt and Esme. And, you know, even it's not even like a gender thing. It's just like their dynamic as well. It's like Esme is the red guy from Inside Out. She can go to be the red guy right away. Like the red guy takes over, pushes the button, and it's just like, roar, you know, instant. And Wyatt is looking for that, right? So I'm always, my thing that I've been saying lately that I'm sick of saying, that I'm like, I just have to reframe the way I'm saying it, is like, what is the point of that? Like, what is the point of saying the thing that causes her to do that? Like, of course, I also need to go over and sit down and have the conversation with her, which is like, don't let that explode you inside. Like, let's take a breath and let's like transition and go, okay, I don't like it when you say that to me. That does not make me feel good. So, you know, I have to go to both of them and have my own conversation with both of them, you know, but with Wyatt, I'm like, what is the point? Why are you trying? He's like, because I know she's going to get mad. And I'm like, but how does that make you feel when you watch that? Like for a second, it's fun. But then after that, like you have the sister who's like exploded now and she's so angry and, you know, fluffed up and everything. And like, does that feel good? And he's like, no. And I was like, okay. So, you know, so I love hearing the way that you guys do it and handle it, because Eric and I too, I feel like all the time we're sort of like figuring out the best way to navigate that sort of sibling thing, because when it's in a good flow, it's so wonderful. But when they're getting right, you know, combative with each other, and then when it gets really escalated, like when Esme starts yelling or crying or whatever it is, sometimes I get triggered, not all the time, but sometimes I do get triggered and I'm like, oh, what's happening? You know, and I get really fluffed up inside, and then I'm like, oh man, like, why is this my reaction? Like, why am I instantly like so emotional and upset?
But you've got the sound thing too, the loud noises thing.
I do. I have like a sound thing. So I have to be really cognizant of that. And so sometimes I can hear her start to like react and get upset, and then I can walk in and go, okay, what happened? Everybody just take a breath. Let's talk about it. And then, you know, I'm okay. And then other times it's like, you know, I'm kind of walking in being like, you go to bed, you brush your teeth, everybody be quiet. You know, it's just like too crazy. And it's like, I'm not doing that with a smile on my face. I'm literally like, you need to go to that room. You've got 10 minutes in the hallway. Like, we need a break, you know? And it's just totally. And then I can sort of walk to each one of them and go, okay, you tell me what happened. All right. And then you tell me what happened, you know? So it's good. I think the biggest thing is the communication, like talking through it, figuring out what happened, how did it make you feel, what could we have done differently. All of those things are really helpful for me. A lot of the time, it's me figuring out how can I react in a way that's calm and that's showing up for each kid in the moment that the way that they need it, and not allow my internal like 7-year-old show up and say like, this is too insane for me, you know, whatever that trigger is. That's like, this is too loud and I don't like it, and someone's crying and this person's mad and I don't like conflict, and like whatever that inner 7-year-old is. 7-year-old Sarah that's like, this is insanity and I don't like insanity. I have to talk to her before sometimes to like calm me down, or sometimes it just bursts out. I mean, what are you going to do? It's like not always going to be perfect.
That's right.
And
we write about that, don't we, in our book?
Yes.
In the last chapter, we write all about how imperative it is, if possible, to do the self-work and to heal, the parts of ourselves that inevitably can be triggered when we have children. If possible, you start that work before you get pregnant. And then it's like ever evolving. The work's just constant. Yeah, it's really interesting. I think
definitely did not start doing that work.
I did not start it either.
Not.
I did
way
not start.
Later.
And then you're just always
later.
doing it. I feel like it's so interesting to see. Because I can see what Mark is triggered by in the kids, and he'll go to anger. He'll go like, he's like Forrest.
Me too.
So he's like 0 to 100. He's in the anger. But instead of like pointing fingers, let's turn the fingers around and point them back at ourselves, and let's figure out how can we each as individuals do better. What do we need to do to be members of this special team? But it's so interesting. My thing is my like trauma or my go-to is a detach. So I can sort of detach, like close the noise off and just be like, all right, I'm taking space. You guys can figure it out. I'm taking space. So detaching in that way is not great. And so I found that if I'm ever really triggered, and I probably haven't done this for a while because I've first of all, it's about figuring out how you're triggered by your kids, and then massaging and nurturing that side of yourself so that it doesn't come out all the time,
every single time.
So I feel like I haven't really done that detaching as much in the last few years since I've pinpointed it. But if I ever feel myself being like, I just can't, I always just stop and I take a breath and I try and like remove myself for a moment, whether it's just to go splash some water in my face before I'm reactionary.
Same.
Like, all right, how am I going to handle this? Okay, I know. And sometimes you just have to actually remove the children away from each other. Like Bodhi in a different space, Forrest in another space, and then you're like going between them. And my other thing I said to Mark is I just really want to – I'm craving one-on-one time with the kids as well. I have so many children, but I'm craving taking them out of the dynamic of having all these all these siblings and just like having each of them one-on-one. I know I can't do it right now because of the workflow and not having Mark here and just the amount that I'm working. Like, it's a Saturday today and I'm working all day today, but actually I'm bringing the kids with me to work. I'm like, if you're going to make me work today, I'm bringing all my kids. They're all coming. So yeah, I'm craving that. And I know that I'm going to be able to find some time to take each of them out of their little like foursome dynamic and have that time with them. I think those little moments will really help.
That'll be here so soon. Like as soon as you're done, you'll be able to start doing that. And I mean, it can be as simple as, like a 25-minute coffee date, where you're like having like they're having a kid's steamer and you're having like coffee or whatever it is. Like Wyatt and I do that sometimes after school. And we'll go and we'll get like a snack or something from the grocery store and we'll sit outside and we'll have it together before we pick up Esme. So
that's so
from like whatever
nice.
activity she has. But yeah, I think the fact that you're craving it means that you really need it and want it, and you'll be able to do it soon. And
yeah, I'm excited for
it'll
that.
Be great.
I love that. Oh my gosh, well, what an episode. I love our impromptu episodes, Sarah.
I know, same, me too. It's just like whatever stuff is happening right now ends up coming up, right? It's like
so
things
good.
that are,
and I feel like you've equipped me with some tools. I'm gonna take on some of these tools for the nighttime stuff. And I'm going to try that. Yeah. And then I'll give you an update on the next episode.
Okay, sounds good.
And big shout out to all the mamas, all the papas, all the caregivers out there in the trenches navigating all this stuff. And a special shout out to Riley Keogh, if you're listening, girl. Riley, you
I just
finished
watching. I just finished watching Daisy Jones and the Six. Well, I was on episode 8 and I messaged Riley and I was like, "You're amazing." And she was like, "I just finished listening to your podcast." And I was like, "What?"
Oh my God.
So exciting. So we love you.
Beautiful woman. Love you. Love all you guys.
Beautiful.
Our daisies are so special to us. Thank you for all the amazing comments and we read them all. And what a community. We feel so grateful.
Yeah, thank you guys. We love you, daisies. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts.
Bye.
Bye.